Welcome back to Close Encounters of the Tech Kind. I'm John, kind of leading this little troop of ours as we gather around and discuss the movements and the notions that tech is going and the directions we've been and the directions we're going. So it's going to be an interesting conversation today. We've got a couple topics we're going to hit. I'll give you a preview of that before we talk to the team because, well, I want to talk to the team, but let's find out what we want to talk about first. Last week, we talked about ISPs getting sued by copyright holders to shut down users' access. Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? And I think that's going to lead into our second topic. They're probably just going to blend together anyways. Is streaming and piracy juxtaposed? Can they cooperate? Can they be together? What's our perspectives on that? I want to see. And then third topic for this week, OneDrive just got exposed. We're not sure exactly how. Maybe we are. There's been some analysis. But joining us on this conversation today, we've got Mike.
Hey, everybody.
Mike comes to us with a couple years experience.
Just a few.
You started on the Commodore 64, right?
Yeah. It was a nice, safe platform back then. Didn't have to worry about being online. Didn't have to worry about viruses. Although the piracy thing, that was big on that platform back in the day.
That was. The rules had yet to be made.
Mm-hmm.
We made all these rules for you, Jackson. You're coming to us with fewer than a couple years experience, maybe.
Fewer than a couple. It's been a little while. It's been more than a couple, but certainly not as much as you guys.
Artie, did he just call us old?
Yes, he called you too old.
No, you did that last week.
Yeah, we've already been over that.
So we'll introduce Artie this week. Last week we kind of gave him a skip over, but Artie, he's sitting behind the little computer screen. I hope. Is he?
I don't mind being skipped over, just don't skip me across a lake. That wasn't fun.
You forgot to use again in that sentence. Well, Artie is going to be manning the controls, keeping microphones and cameras in check, making sure that we're going to have a conversation worth listening to.
Yes, the blame is all on me.
No, we'll have the conversation worth listening to. Artie's going to make sure that it's worth hearing. So, but without further ado, let's jump right in to our first topic. The ISPs blocking users from internet access because somebody sued them. What an interesting concept. So this comes from an idea, and this actually goes back to MP3 days where the copyright holder of a song would reach out to your ISP and say, this person is hosting our song that's under our protection, take it down. And if you don't take it down, we'll sue you, the ISP. And so they did that. Well, Cox Media Group, is it Media Group?
Cox Cable.
Cox Cable. They're getting sued right now for not taking users offline.
They are being accused of being facilitators and knowingly allowing infringers and profiting from said infringement. Whereas Cox's stance is, we don't know if they are actually doing it. And a lot of the evidence that has been put forth, some of it looks convincing, but other bits of it looks very circumstantial. Like this IP address infringed on this, but that IP address belongs to, like a university. So
well, and it's circumstantial evidence in a lot of cases, and there's no, John decided to download, pick your favorite song. There's no evidence that would stand up in a court of law. These guys are just claiming that the damage is there, therefore take off the user.
Well,
I don't think that's fair.
So it's made it through appeals court a couple times, and it's heading towards the Supreme Court now. Or it's heading for Supreme Court consideration, I should say. And it has been found that the first instance, it was $1 billion in damages against Cox. And I misspoke. It's Cox Communications.
Yep.
And it went to the second level of appeals, and they said, well, we agree on some things, but the $1 million damages, no. So it went to the next level because the people that filed the lawsuit want the damages.
Well, tell us more about this $1 million. You've got
Billion.
the details in front of you.
So there were 53 music companies that were in this filing, and the rights holders complained, I'm taking this from Torrent Freak, that Cox categorically failed to terminate repeat copyright infringers. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by some camera issues.
Yeah, I might just have to go audio only here.
Try hitting it with a closed fist. It might come back.
Mike's coming in and out of the matrix.
All right. So the rights holders complained that Cox categorically failed to terminate repeat copyright infringers, and that it substantially profited from this ongoing pirate activity, all at the expense of the record labels and their rights holders.
They're trying to say that Cox has profited?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because they're selling the internet service that you're using.
Yes.
Right, but I mean, it's like it's the same profit that they get as if someone's not doing that, right? I mean, unless they're paying for an upgraded package or whatever. I mean, yeah, that's
a hard one for how do you say? I gave something away for free, therefore this other person who saw it is making money from that. Like,
I know, it's like they couldn't get to the guy who was actually doing it, so they're just like, well, you're next in line, so we'll sue you.
You were in the car with him.
Not even. They built the road. That was it.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one of the things that it brings up is the actual liability of anybody that is even remotely close to being a facilitator in this, but that we'll get to that. There was a verdict handed down in what's the year? Okay, this article is from 2019. So that was when it went against Cox, and it's been in a bunch of legal turmoil since then, and a lot of companies have been watching this because there is implications outside of just infringement here.
Mm-hmm.
It's what actually will constitute infringement, because if not shutting down the access to these people that were alleged pirates, if not shutting that down counts as facilitation, then what else will count as facilitation in the future? So even just typing a quote from a movie on a website, does that count as infringement? Because it's a direct quote from the movie.
At what point do we start going after the electric company and then the water company because they didn't shut down the water to some criminal, or
I actually looked into that earlier, and that is the main difference between that is Cox had been contacted regarding this, whereas the electric company, they have absolutely no idea what their users are using electricity for.
Right. And why should they have any, it's not their dog.
It's not. So with Cox, they had been contacted multiple times. In this case, over 10,000 instances
The
of
electric
Cox
company?
being of alleged piracy.
The
Was
electric company was contacted about
No, no, no,
this IP address.
no. The electric company. No. I'm talking about Cox. The difference being
Okay.
that Cox was contacted, but the electric company would not be, because that is not something that falls under their purview.
Right. Which makes sense. I was
Well,
worried
the
there
electric
that we
company
got
made
into
money
like
off of it.
so
Yeah, they
hey,
did.
so is Cox providing the data storage space for this pirate? Or is it just the internet connection, the connection?
to
So
said server or
what we're
whatever.
saying is the pirates have their own servers at their whatever location, and it is connected to the internet through Cox cable,
Yeah, let's
Yes.
right?
let's do it. Let's do it. For instance, I'll be the evil corporate money grubbing music industry. You can
Is
see where
this
my
like
love is.
role play
Uh,
or just real life?
Role play. What role play? So like
Oh, you
let's say
sure?
I'm
Okay.
the copyright holder.
Well, maybe you should pick someone different.
Mike,
I'm just
you're
kidding.
Cox.
Yeah.
You're the ISP, and Jackson is the pirateer downloading illicit
Alleged
wares.
pirate.
Alleged pirate.
Well, not in my opinion. He's downloaded my music and
I'm a
therefore
customer.
guilty, and I want him shut down and prevent him from ever doing it again.
But how do you know
So I'm
that
going
it
to sue
was?
Mike to prevent Jackson from doing this.
But how do you know that it was Jackson?
Yeah, because I looked up some records somewhere. I saw an IP address, and that's on
Okay.
Mike's network. So I'm gonna tell Mike he needs to turn it off because I don't like Jackson sharing my content.
So how
'Cause
do
I
you
think it's him.
associate the IP address with Jackson in this situation?
I don't care. I know that IP address is sharing stuff.
Okay.
And last of the records I've seen, Jackson's doing this. So maybe I can run a correlation attack against it and say he was on Facebook because Jackson uses Facebook.
All right. So
But-
you're alleging that this person who is a customer of Mike is currently or has pirated in the past. So it is up to Mike to mete out the punishment for that, which would be
Yeah, shut him down. Shut him down. And while you're doing it, I'm gonna actually sue you, Mike, because you made money off of Jackson. How does that make you feel?
You're a jerk.
Well, you could almost turn it right around then, because
Mm-mm.
how many people do you employ that have conducted illegal criminal acts in their lives, and you
Zero.
facilitated because you gave them a paycheck to be able to afford to buy, who knows, illegal things on the black market or whatever. I don't know.
No, those drugs were in the car before they got pulled
No,
out.
here's what I'm getting at though. I can understand it if it's one thing if they were using, let's say that Cox provides not just a connection to the internet, but also provides you with a little bit of hard drive space on a server to host a website. Because a lot of ISPs, I don't know if they still do that, but they used to do that back in the day, right? You could sign up with your ISP, they gave you an email account, they gave you a connection to the internet, and then you get like 10 megabytes of storage space. You can host a little website there, your own personal website, right? So hosting the files that have been illegally copied, I can understand that as one thing. But just simply the fact that you provide a connection to access the internet and they're able to do that, I mean, are they going after telephone companies too, who have provide DSL lines?
Sure.
Are they going
They're
after
connecting
satellite
my
companies for satellite connections? Are they going after, if you're going to go after one, you got to go after them all.
right?
I would say
Give me time. I'll go after them all. I just
Can
gotta
you
I gotta
afford
get
it?
over this one.
Can you
Yeah,
afford that?
it's a
Oh,
matter
yeah.
of setting precedent.
Well, that's true.
So
You set
if I
precedent.
can nail one, if I could take you to court and win because you're not punishing Jackson because I told you to, then okay, now I've got court precedent. I'll go to the next Mike and punish the other Jacksons out there.
So
Jackson, you're such a
Okay,
criminal. I love it.
so now here's another thing. So should we be punishing states who provide highways where drugs are being trafficked and everything?
Not my
I mean,
problem. I'm worried
I
about
know it's
music.
not
I
your
don't care
problem.
about. I don't
They
care
make
about
money
roads.
off of the driver license registration.
But okay, let's take that point, Mike, because you're absolutely right. Should we sue the Quickie Mart for providing gas? Should we sue the mechanics for fixing on the cars?
Right, exactly. Should we sue the computer manufacturers
so
Let's just go right
for
to the
providing
thing.
the devices that download the illegal material?
I
I
think
mean,
we
there
have
you
Let's
go.
sue Ford, Chevy, and Dodge for making the car that was the getaway from the whatever event.
so
Right.
yeah, the main issue that and the reason that it came against Cox in the ruling was that a jury found that they were not meeting the legal obligations that had already been set out for terminating customers for repeated violations.
Okay, so what's in their terms of service?
No, it's the legal. It's the legal in the state that the lawsuit was brought.
Yeah, I know. Because here's the thing. I know that when I've signed up with internet services of any kind, whether it's an ISP or web hosting provider or anything like that, in that terms of service, most of the time I've been able to find a place that says you agree that you're not going to use the service for illegal activity.
Mm-hmm.
And they leave that kind of open about what illegal activity is. So, I mean, it may be legal in your state, but it might not be legal in another state, and that might have to be, figured out later. But in general, the fact is that you're not going to do it for illegal activity, and that if they find out that you do, that they have the right and they would terminate your service.
And
that's kind of
something-
where
So
that's where
why
Cox was
has
coming from, is saying you're not following your terms of service by shutting them off. You're
Right.
leaving them on.
At the same time, I would also like to point out that Cox had terminated many instances in the past for these things. A lot of the alleged infringing with this case, from my understanding, was from public access points or something similar to that, like, as I said earlier, a university. So you don't
Starbucks.
You don't necessarily, to use the old analogy, curing the disease by killing the patient.
I think this is more cure the disease by blowing up the hospital.
Okay, so now here's another thing. I can understand Cox's position, because here's the thing. I let's say that I used their services and I was conducting this illegal activity, right? They caught me. They shut me down. Okay. Now, what's to keep me from signing up again under a different name with a different credit card, different home address or PO box or whatever? How are they going to know that it's not me again?
Well, that's really a big thing. Is
And I wonder if that's a thing that where Cox has just become so burnt out from chasing all this down that they just threw their hands up and just said, "We give up and let other people worry about it." If someone can actually catch these people and punish them, then fine. But
It's
we can't.
also
We don't have the
possible-
manpower or the resources to keep chasing all these down and keep shutting down these accounts.
I'd
Yeah,
also
and I
like to
the
point
gray
out there
line.
that it's possible that Cox is purposefully taking this stand to get actual ruling on it, because all the ISPs are on Cox's side because they don't want to be held liable for their users being idiots.
Mhm.
Right.
And
Like, I mean, like what we're talking about with gasoline or, whatever, any other
yeah,
commodity that supplies a fuel or something. It's all the same. The ISP, their jurisdiction ends at the modem. Whatever servers, whatever stuff that their user has on the other side of that modem, they shouldn't have to be responsible for that because now they've become the police and they have to monitor exactly what's going on inside of your home. And there's so many things that, at least in the United States, there's a hard stop there, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
if they go down this route, then you have now said that, okay, ISPs, you are now responsible for what's behind those modems. And I think you're going to open up a whole can of worms that we don't want to
So,
get into.
so our government has actually, since we last talked about this, we alluded to having it. I'm glad we actually had to delay a week because government weighed in and said the ISP can be viewed as the same as the landlord of your house. If you're the landlord of the house, you're not monitoring the legal or illegal activities of your tenants. As a matter of fact, you're expressly disallowed for privacy concerns. Your landlord can't come in and say, hey, do you have alcohol in the house and kids under 21? Did you lock that up and make sure they can't get to it? It's not their job. So having this recommendation and government siding with the ISPs, I think is great because they really don't have any, in my opinion, they don't have any sins in this game. If anything, they have a sin against the users they shut down at the request of a single record label or copyright holder or whatever.
So the
Should be a
legal
court
precedent
order.
has been the legal precedent that is being put forward was something that the I believe that the Supreme Court already ruled on, and
Mhm.
that was can a social media site be responsible for the violent actions of the users that use the site to communicate with each other? And it was found that the site is not liable for the actions of the users, and they're using
And I
this as
100% agree.
yes. I think that that's something that we are in consensus about. And the specific case was Twitter v. Tomney, and they are the Solicitor General of the United States has used this as an amicus to the Supreme Court to take up this case on the
Mhm.
side of Cox.
Well, and it's a good thing. It's such a good thing because if we hold all these sites accountable for the misdeeds, the sins of the users, instead of going after the users directly, we're just going to end up with a broken internet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to want to publish anything because somebody's going to be offended and somebody's going to have a problem with this, so take it down.
Or as I said earlier, the you quote a movie and somebody decides to report you for copyright violation. Oh no, I quoted
Yep.
Star Wars like half the internet. So
I heard of a story in, I'll just say another country, wasn't US. Gal posted the lyrics to her deceased friends, best friends, in memoriam to their best friend. It had some explicit content. It had the N-word. She's in jail for 2 years for hate speech.
Hmm.
She posts lyrics. Okay, so if we're going to go at this with the sense of the copyright holder, it can sue the vehicles. The user just went to jail for the copyright holder's content.
Yeah, how come a copyright holder's not getting sued or thrown in
Right.
jail for hate speech before even coming up with the content in the first place. You know, the thing is that this whole thing, I'm really big on the fact of whether or not Cox was actually hosting the content, because I clearly see that that is a line that if it's being hosted on Cox resources, then yeah, there's going to be some liability there if they didn't take care of that and get that erased. It goes back to the days we kind of alluded to earlier about piracy back in the 80s and 90s and everything. And I don't know why, but you know, every time the landscaping guys come, they keep knocking down our thermometer outside. I don't know. He just came by and picked it up again. I don't know what's up with that. But anyway,
one day he'll run it over with the mower.
I know one of these days it's going to just go kablooey. But you know, back then the way it was done is that people were having their own sites on their own computers. It was a bulletin board system, and these files would show up on these bulletin board systems and get copied left and right and downloaded and whatever. And I could see a clear line there where it's like, you are using your own system in your house to make copies of and distribute copyrighted software. I remember when I found one of these BBSs, and it was a shock. My friends and I were like, "Whoa, this BBS has like a ton of pirated software. Like, look at this." It had WordPerfect and, you know, Lotus 123, and like I gotta think of like all the old 80s titles that were big back then, but it was like full packages of all this software. And it's
And you
like,
didn't download any of it, did you?
no, we didn't know. We didn't need to, because it's all business software, and as kids, like what kids can use business software? You know, none of these are games. Like, where's the games? There's no games. You know,
Spreadsheets ain't games.
so, but that was the big deal. I was like, I can clearly see, like, we could turn this guy in and they would have a case for it because it's on his computer, his hard drive. Now the question is does his phone company get in trouble though because he's doing it? I don't think the phone company even knows half the time. You know, they just know that, hey, the phone rang, something answered, and some communication was made, you know.
Yep.
I don't think that they're listening in and thinking, oh, that's a data connection, or oh, that's a voice connection, or whatever. So
No, and they were expressly forbid from doing that.
yeah, and you know, it
They
goes to
can't
the thing
eavesdrop.
where, you know, yeah, wiretapping requires a warrant and, you know,
Yep.
probable cause and all that stuff too. So but that's how it's done back then. And so now we are in the internet age, and now it's more decentralized. It's the cloud. And so then it's like, well, is it the cloud owner? Is it the person who subscribed and bought the piece of the cloud that they're using for it? You know,
Yeah.
or
I
is
mean-
it just a connection that they're using to facilitate coming from their own servers at their house?
Most of the cloud
There's a-
storage has algorithmic scanning of anything that's uploaded to specifically look for certain things, and then if legally required to, I should say,
Mhm.
if it finds certain things, it will report that the appropriate information to the law enforcement bodies that need to be reported to. So it would just be a different layer of that if they wanted to add like YouTube's content scanner, which, you know, I'm grateful for, but at the same time, I hate all the false flags on things that do not have the content in them. I've got a video of me talking that I uploaded many, many years ago, and it got flagged for somebody's song. It's just like, there's no music in this video. It's just me talking. I'm not saying lyrics. WTF.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting components. Yeah, I think we're at a place where AI is going to generate so much, and AI is going to scan so much. The human condition has created so much. We've tried to lock it down into money avenues, you know, royalties and distribution. I'd be more for it if the royalties ended up in the artist's hands. And that's all I'll say. Is record labels make a lot of money and the artist doesn't make much. That's why the t-shirts are so expensive at concerts, because that's where the artist actually makes some good money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if we're going to support legislation that prevents copyright infringement, I think we should do it through old-fashioned police work. It was find that pirateer that is sharing it and get him dead to rights, and then go to court and then make him stop. Don't go to the ISP.
I was actually going to broach that subject as well. Back in the days of Napster, that is what the industry did. That is what the music industry did. They tracked down, they subpoenaed, or they requested the IP address, the name associated with the IP address of infringers. And it's one of the reasons why it's extremely difficult nowadays to get somebody's name from their IP address through an ISP, is because of what the music industry did back then. And when they went and did this, they would, level. So Joe Schmo down the street, he pirated, 97 songs from this company. That company sued for maximum damages. So that guy now owes like in excess of $10 million to that company because they pirated those songs. And the music industry realized that they were doing a lot of bad publicity for themselves, because nobody liked the fact that they were picking on these people, these small people that, there's absolutely no chance that, 11-year-old Bobby next door can pay those damages. And, his parents should have known, but, his parents are not technically inclined. So they don't know what their kids are doing online. Yeah.
His parents should have known he was going to cost him $100 million.
So
there's a TED Talk. I don't know if you saw this one. I'm going to cut you off there. There's a TED Talk. Rob Reed, he did this. I think it was 2016. The $8 billion iPod, and through just the lawyer's logic and the math that they have, they determined that the original iPod, holds like 130 songs. The value, the real market value, was $8 billion impact to the economy by having one iPad. And then they equated that to something, I forget what it was, like, was it 22,000 jobs per song? I mean, the math was just so far out that people started saying this doesn't work. That the actual impact isn't there. And the problem that I see with that is the common sense says it's not an $8 billion iPod. They downloaded all these songs that were really $1 a piece on iTunes. So $130. So if the companies are going to sue for that much and the songs really aren't worth that much anyways, I'm just going to pirate it. So I'm gonna jump us into the next subject, because we could talk for hours on these topics. But so piracy and streaming, they did a switcheroo. So we were talking back in the 80s on bulletin boards. We had pirated content. 90s, we saw MP3s come to the rise. Early 2000s, we saw movies turn into a streaming, or not streaming, a pirated resource. Jackson, you know what ended piracy?
Well, was it streaming platforms?
It was one streaming platform. It didn't end piracy, but it made it less convenient to find a server and download a good copy and put it on your own discs and, go through the time and hassle. If you just turn on Netflix and hit play and watch Star Wars, why would you go through the time and hassle to download and take up all your drive space?
And risk, downloading some sort of malware or whatever when you can just spend a few bucks a month.
Yeah. Which was a thing, because you can stitch viruses into videos. And so you download the wrong AVI and boom, it redirects you to a website and infects your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't really weaving it into the video. It was masquerading as a different file type. So when you
okay, I want to be very cautious on this. I have downloaded files that redirect you to unrelated information. They try to hack you with it. It's
Yeah,
impressive.
There are ways to do it.
Well, and since we're talking bad about the record labels, sorry guys, Sony got in trouble for putting a rootkit on one of the audio CDs.
Not one of the
So
audio
you can play
CDs. Like
yeah,
everyone that was released that year.
yeah. So you put the music disc in your car, it plays just fine. You put it in your computer, and it infects your computer with their virus. And it scans for MP3s and sends that information back to Sony so they can sue you later.
Wow.
Yeah, that got them
That's
in a lot of
crazy.
legal hot water around the world.
Ooh. It's like, we're going to protect you so much, we have to hack your computer to do it.
So I mean, yeah, I mean that was what was really cool, and I kind of grew up. I got to see kind of that transition growing up. I didn't see a lot of the 90s and how kind of what's the name of that software we were just talking about? It's like Net something.
Napster?
Napster. Yes, that's right.
Oh, don't call these out, guys. Well, how about this? Don't call out contemporary ones. We don't want to.
I mean,
let's talk history, not current.
We're talking about the historical Napster, not the current Napster. We're talking
Right,
about the
historical
instant.
Napster.
Yes.
And kind of how all of that happened. So I didn't quite see that, but I definitely saw how streaming changed things, right? And it was it felt like a win for everyone. Everyone enjoyed it. You could pay a few bucks, stream whenever you wanted. That granted, they have it, and I mean that was it. There was no commercials. It was a bliss. My childhood was a bliss as far as that goes.
Well, and it's great because you had everything that you wanted ready to go live on tap, and it was one price.
Mm-hmm.
So
You didn't get to own it, but what do I care?
Didn't
I
need
mean,
to, because
I don't need to watch something 100 times. Only a few things.
yep. So Netflix kind of took us down the journey of, we have ubiquitous free access to the content for a subscription fee. So they're making billions of dollars. Okay, so they locked up the rights for streaming several years. Great, good idea. They were ahead of everybody. Well, then everybody started spinning up on their own services. So you had Hulu, you had Disney Plus, you had Amazon Prime, you had all those other companies spin this up. So now all of them are charging 10, 15, 20 bucks a month just to stream. So people cut their cable bill because it was 150 bucks and nothing's on.
Nothing's on when you want it either.
Right? And then
it's
now we're
4,000
in
channels of stuff I'll never watch.
Yeah. And now when you get on Netflix, you'll stumble across maybe a dozen movies that you want to watch and a whole bunch of recommendations of things you just don't have an interest in right now. And then every other streaming platform suffers from the same malady, that what you want isn't there, so you have to go get the other one.
Or
So if you want to watch Star Trek, you got to go Paramount Plus.
Or, and this is an issue with, I will name the show specifically just because it is a great example of this. The company will create a series and then take it down from their site and not have it anywhere else. Willow. They made a TV show out of the movie, and it was on Disney Plus, I think, for 6 months before they just took it down. And you can't find it now.
It's a lot of shows in that category. Now,
and I think there's two things here that, one, I hate that there are bajillion streaming platforms, and because then you have to pay for all of them to watch all the things that you want. And so then, my initial thought is like, man, I wish we could just have one. But then you think, okay, then you create a monopoly and then they can jack up price however much they want. So I think what a great solution would be is if films could be if the rights could be split between two companies, like say Netflix gets, Netflix and Disney Plus, they both have the same thing. That never happens because only one company has the rights to it. And so that's what sucks. And I don't know what the legal whatever surrounds the legal rights to movies and TVs and how it's different from other stuff. So I don't even know if that'd be a possibility, but if it were, we might see an improvement if, then you actually create competition, because now it's all just sectioned off and you have no choice. Like if you want to watch this, you have to go get that one streaming service.
To give you an example with that, Jackson, let's use the Marvel Universe. So Marvel sold off the rights to the X-Men, and they sold off the rights to Spider-Man to Fox and Sony, respectively. And they have been fighting tooth and nail since they sold off those rights to get the rights back. And even with, with Spider-Man appearing in one of the recent Marvel movies, they had to pay fees to Sony to get the rights back to a character that they own. So
gotta love it.
It's very convoluted.
And the worst part is, guys, we end up paying that bill. You know, that the video we watch, the subscription fees go to pay those legal fees and the fines and the purchases and transfers. Here's one for you. You've seen The Office, right?
Yeah.
So it was on Netflix for the longest time. After a 5-year run, it was up for renewal for another 5 years. And rather than just giving it back to Netflix, the creators said, hey, let's auction this. Guess how much a 5-year contract for The Office went for?
Oh, I don't know. Many a million.
500.
I wonder if Peacock's made that back yet.
I don't know how they could.
Well, they started running ads
goes
on a
to
lot of these streaming services too. So
that goes to where,
what is happening is we are heading back to what caused the decline of cable, which is you paid extra fees for content that you could just watch that had no commercials or anything. I remember the Disney Channel. There were no commercials on any of their programming. And then, 15 years later, Disney Channel, commercials on all their programming. Okay, so why are we paying the premium?
You have to wait 2 hours for a program.
That too. So the streaming services have gone to using commercials to bolster their income. And the other thing that's happening is I'm seeing talks of, oh, well, you want to get these streaming services bundled together for just a little bit cheaper. And it's like bundles are why people did not like cable. You had to get these channels that you would never watch just for the one that you did.
4,000 channels and nothing's on.
It's like you pay $80 for like 99% of the channels that you don't watch and the 1% of the channels that you do, instead of just being able to buy the ones that you wanted.
They were smart in packaging those little packages together. So you'd get like ABC, CBS, NBC in one package. Then you get the news channels after different package level. You're up here for the news, and then the sports is in the top level one because people want to watch sports. It makes the most money. So don't include that in the free ones. Maybe include like ESPN2 in the free channels or the base package. But where I want to talk about is power outs. That's awesome. What I want to talk about is the decline of the quality and the increase in extracting revenue from everybody, and how that is causing the resurgence of piracy. We're talking about companies they put their content out, they put it on streaming, they're making money off that. Great. Well, they just bought one show for $500 million, and they got to make that money back somehow. So let's turn the quality down to standard def instead of high def and charge $5 a month more for the high def. You want to watch this movie in 4K? Oh, That's $17 a month, not 12. Do that
Yeah,
across.
now that you're paying for the streaming, oh, well, actually, we're just going to show you ads anyway. Like, then why am I paying you? What am I paying you for?
Exactly.
So it's yeah, it's super frustrating. And so I think
So
they've poked and prodded and they've pushed, I think, the public back to where we were, which was, I'm not paying for this crap anymore. I just go out and pirate it.
if I take this back to them and say that they caused this problem. Standard def was just fine for the longest time. And all of a sudden, one day, high def was the thing, and you have to sell your old TV. You have to get rid of your glass CRT based monitors and get these flat panels that do 720 and then 1080. Okay, now 4K, because you can't live without 4K, Jackson. You must have 4K on your TV, or the movie's not worth watching.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can't do 4K anymore. It's got to be 8K.
8K is ridiculous.
And it
Depending on
really
how
is.
big your screen is. What they really ought to, I mean, this is a little tangent, but people don't realize when they tell you 8K, if you're buying an 8K monitor for your computer, you are not seeing any difference. In fact, you're seeing a worse difference because your computer is probably dying to try and display that, even though you can't see it. You know, there gets to a certain point of pixel density where, you know, you can't really tell difference. And so,
Well, as you're flying over the forest, you can also smell the smoke because your computer's slightly on fire from trying to process.
I know it's ridiculous. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I wish they would advertise pixel density rather than 4K. But I know they won't, because they'll just keep, you know, advertising it and people will buy it and pay a top dollar for it, even though they don't know that they're not getting a difference. Because I'm sure if you look it up, and Artie, maybe you can look this up while I'm talking about it. You know, I'm sure there is a certain pixel density where researchers have said, okay, the human eye can't see past, you know, this certain pixel density. And then we will
The Retina display that Apple uses.
Yeah. And then at that point, you just like, okay, well, there's no reason to make more expensive TVs. You know, the technology doesn't need to advance further in that aspect. You know, of course, we have other display technologies like OLED, QLED, and all this other stuff, and that's great. You know, sure, charge me more for that. Don't charge me more for pixels that I can't see.
1080p on my cell phone looks amazing compared
It really
to 1080p on my mother-in-law's 80-inch TV.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to watch a 4K video, you have to watch it in very specific things. So we've called him out before. I'll say it again. Louis Rossmann. He tried to watch a 4K video on his setup, and he doesn't follow anybody's drum. He builds his own computers and puts whatever he wants on it. He couldn't connect to a 4K stream that he was paying for because he wasn't using approved hardware. And he has a whole justification for piracy. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say piracy is worth it. What I'm saying is the industry has pushed people like him to advocate for piracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And he's
I
not
remember.
advocating for piracy. He's advocating that they're asking for it.
Yeah, and I remember the same thing happened to me. I had a TV that yeah, it was only displaying like 1080, I think. And even though I had bought the HD version, it would not let me stream it because the TV I had was 1080. And so yeah, it's ridiculous. All of these stupid paywalls that they're putting in front of getting to your content is just, you're forcing people to go elsewhere.
Okay.
And it's one of those things. If you make a piece of content that is 4K and you try and distribute that out there, you want that to get out there. You can't control 100% of the audience from being able to download an illegal copy and then distribute it. One person will be ingenious enough to rip it off and post it out there. So it doesn't matter how many hoops you put, you're just hurting your common person, which, okay, maybe that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get $5 a month or more per person.
I got to jump in now. So the history of anti-piracy, just across the board, that the implementations that companies do to prevent piracy has ended up hurting the people that don't pirate more than the pirates. And this is
Exactly.
historically true, because you had like the one that I'm remembering right now, RoboCop for the PC. You had to plug this dongle into the back of the machine so that the game would run. If you didn't have that, the game wouldn't run. And you know what? 95% of the computers didn't have the port for that. So they couldn't play the game when they bought it.
I can hear your passion. You've leaned close to the microphone and you're talking
I'm
fast.
actually moving farther away from the microphone because I know I'm talking louder. It's no, I've hated
Mike,
doing that because I have gone out and legitimately bought games that were using old forms of the copy protection, like King's Quest. I got one of the King's Quest games, and I bought it from the store. It was like a discount bin. Get it home, run it, have it start running, and it says, please enter the third word on the 5th page of the instruction manual. It's like, it didn't come with an instruction manual. I can't play this game. I can't return it because no returns on open packages. So there's a reason.
just take it back to the store and say, hey, I need the third word on the 5th page.
Yeah.
So Mike, you remember Macrovision? VHS tape to VHS tape copy mess up.
Kind of, yeah.
So you can't take one VHS machine from home and plug it into another VHS machine from home and copy your video of Star Wars. It just will not copy.
Yeah.
But you could watch it. That's some cool technology. But it had one vehicle, one method. Your NTSC video stream from the video player to the next device. So you could control that. Now we got HDMI, we got DisplayPort, we've got software emulation. We've got all kinds of ways of getting that video signal out.
You know, that has just reminded me there is another thing that these streaming services are doing that is also infuriating to me, and I'm not sure if you were leading into this, but I don't know.
Sorry, take it away.
I don't know of any that are not doing this, but I mean, Disney Plus is one that I had a recent encounter with that caused many a curse word to fly out of my mouth. Of you can't duplicate your screen, you can't share it, you can't do anything. If you have Disney Plus on your phone, that is where you get to watch it. You can't plug it into a display, you can't screen mirror it, you cannot do anything. And it is so frustrating to me. Because and that one, I'm not sure why. Like, what are they getting at? If I have it on my phone, why do you not want me to be able to just put it on my TV?
Because they
Like,
don't
what is the
want you
problem?
to. They don't want you to stream it out to a capture device.
Right.
You know, this video capture that you put on your video game to stream on Twitch.
Yeah.
So
well, then here's the other
that goes
thing,
to
because
Artie's point.
they can't and don't do that on a computer. So why punish me on my phone? You know,
They do.
if there's no way for you to, I mean, I can plug in a display onto my computer and duplicate the display, and the software doesn't know anything better. It just sees
No,
it as
the displays are HDCP compliant. Otherwise, you couldn't watch it. So the video card, the display, the HDMI cable, it's all HDCP compliant. Otherwise, you could not watch that content on there because they've got software that prevents that. Or just downgrades the stream to standard def or 720. I mean,
but are there not so many? I mean, I can almost guarantee you that there's got to be some software on a Linux system that gets around it, right?
Yes.
I mean, so
but that's Artie's point, is they are hurting the good guys.
Yeah,
They're taking us, doing it right, and saying, no, you can't because somebody might pirate our software, our video, our content.
Yeah, you're just quit punishing me. Quit, please.
I'm sorry, we're only allowing these vehicles to go up to 55 miles an hour because somebody out there might want to speed.
And
We're
then the
getting
guy
close to
that's
that day.
speeding,
Yeah.
he drives, a 2000 something anyway,
Regrettably, we
so
are
it
close
doesn't
to
matter.
time.
Yeah, I know it's the time. We gotta put a wrapper on this, and
Okay, I'm going to answer a
That's-
question that Jackson brought up earlier.
Oh,
According
no.
to mathematics done by people on Reddit, the human eye can work out approximately a PPI squared of 8600, whereas like a 4K 27-inch TV has about 26,000. So
Okay, wait, say
Your
those
eye-
numbers.
your eye
you're
can see
saying
approximately a third of the pixels that are presented in a 4K 27-inch monitor.
27-inch. Yeah, so if you're buying
So if-
4K on a monitor, you're wasting your money.
if I actually had this happen. I was helping a client install an 80-inch brand new 8K television. We're watching 8K content. And I said, okay, now let's get to the certain point where you can see the pixels. So you get real close and you can see the dots on the screen. Okay, now step back until you can't distinguish those dots. It's like 4 or 5 feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Anything
that's the thing.
further back,
It's
just
dependent on
lost.
all those things. It's dependent on size and distance you are from the screen. So for all of our viewers out there, you can save yourself a couple extra bucks. Just
By a smaller screen.
Yeah, buy it's yeah. Anyway, thank you, Artie. This
You're welcome.
today has gotten me riled up about all
I
the
figured
things
it
that
would
I
be a
hate.
good thing to end on that was just like completely disconnected from everything else that we were talking about.
That's great. Make Jackson mad before we're finished. Good strategy.
Well, he's many
So
miles
let's
away,
hope
so he
Jackson-
can't hurt me.
Let's hope Jackson cools down before our next episode. But I think we should wrap this one up, guys. Artie, I'm going to give you the final comment on this because I know you're most passionate about the subjects.
I'm just going to repeat something that I believe. Piracy is not a matter of price, it's a matter of availability.
It's a good thought. Love to hear our viewers chime in with their thoughts on this. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Oh, yeah. We do not condone piracy.
Piracy is wrong. Don't do it. Even if you really need to have 4K video on your 27-inch TV. Until next time, I'm John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
I'm questioning my life choices right now.
As are we all. We're all questioning your life choices, Artie. We'll see you all next time.